Apex Online Racing is sponsored by Elgato, who created this lovely Stream Deck. For more information about the Stream Deck, the link is in the description below.
Hello everyone and welcome to Apex Online Racing Hype Energy Formula 1 Leagues. I am Fizzymon and I'll be your host here today for round number 8 of PC F1 action here in Belgium at Spa. Qualifying has just begun underway as the drivers are currently out on track right now doing their out laps before they begin their first of about 3 laps, I say is how much time they got right now. We only have a 14 car grid today, but I'm sure we'll have plenty of action for you folks here around the circuit of Belgium. I've been informed it is all dry for the qualifying and the race, so weather should not play a factor, so I do expect many of these drivers to be giving it their all on the softs in qualifying and in the race. Now as here we can see Tisu in the Red Bull, one of the first drivers starting his lap. Up the road is Reyes and Jan Fehler, and behind him looks to be the Alfa Romeo of Christian Sendel. So last week, a little summary, of course, last week we did not have a stream, and these drivers did race around Zandvoort in the Netherlands. And at the end, Christian Sendel took home his maiden victory of the season. Jan Fehler in tow and Lenny Pianor down in P3. We'll see if Christian Sendel can continue this momentum here, but it's definitely going to be a tall order, that's for sure. Keep a look at his sector times now. His first sector 29.8, very quick, purple, but of course the session drivers are just starting. We'll ride on board with him actually right now as he navigates his way through the middle sector here, going into the Brussels hairpin of the circuit and then through the left-hander of no name. It does have that Red Bull off the road. Ooh, losing the rear end a little bit there. Definitely will not help. His lap time goes very wide, smacks the wall, and invalidates his lap. So it looks like I gave him a little bit of a commentator curse there. And I do apologize, but I'm sure Christian will come back even stronger. We'll go up the road now to Jan Fehler, who's looking to bring that McLaren onto the front row and convert it into a maiden win for the season. Purple middle sector, but he is the second driver on track. Up the road is Reyes. And I'm expecting these drivers to get into the 41s and possibly, no, not possibly, definitely the 40s. As for how low we go, I am not sure. And that should be a surprise. But first across the line will be Reyes in the Haas. Haas team looking to really bounce back. They've really struggled these last few weeks. Had some alright results, but looking to see if Reyes here can put his car in a good position. It's a 141.9 banker lap for Reyes and a 141 by Jan Fehler, which is provisional pole. Behind him, looks like Lenny, our championship leader, coming out of the final corner. He's going to set an invalid lap. No, he was on an out lap, I believe, so I guess he is now on an, yes, he's currently now on a hot lap. I do apologize there. But his teammate Blue goes up to third after Duza takes provisional pole with a 141.1. Not sure what my fastest lap counter at the bottom was not updating, but we'll keep that. We'll get that fixed right away for us. DCU crossed the line in the Red Bull, 142.2. Now it's down into 6 as Maester Hoffy jumps up to P4. Coming up is the two Alfa Tauris, led by Patrick and followed by Kev Jennings. Patrick across the line does a 141.1. A lot of drivers doing those low 141 banker laps with his teammate doing 141.4 and F1 Racer sliding right in front of him. So already getting some pretty quick lap times as we begin. Also, folks, so you are aware, please let me know if there's any stream quality issues. I'm seeing I'm losing about 3% of my frames, and that is due to the fact that I'm currently on a Wi-Fi connection. And if there's any issues, just, you know, don't be afraid to holler. That way we can make sure that the experience is as good as possible. Speaking as good as possible, Fernandez does a 141.4. Really close battle here with only several tenths between these drivers. Look at that right now compared to the leader. 1/10 between the top three, and then there's only a tenth between fourth through 7th. But now all eyes are on Lenny, our championship leader, and he has invalidated his lap. So that is very interesting. Christian Sendel on an out lap once again, who is not set up banker. And Korsak currently with a purple middle sector, the Chinese driver, who has not raced with us in a few weeks. It's good to have him back and see if he can battle towards the front, possibly put pressure on the legs of Lenny, Jan, and Christian Sendel. But now going through the bus stop chicane, what does he have? He's out of battery already for the lap. So I'll have to see now on the run to the line, it's going to be a provisional 140.7. Just absolutely smashes Duza's time by a third of a second. Korsak, hello and welcome back to AOR Racing. What a lap. Taking a quick pause right there to take a bite of my bagel. I do apologize for that. But Korsak, provisional pole for now as the drivers return to the pit lane. The only one out on track on an actual lap, I believe, is Christian Sendel, because Lenny is on a slow lap. Christian Sendel about to start a lap. So we're just going to quiet down for a minute here. We're going to ride on board with him once he starts his lap. And we'll see how the German takes the circuit around. Now, one thing about these car setups, as you probably all know, a lot of them are very oversteery, so you'll see him really fighting the car throughout the corners. And let's go ahead and ride him board, see how he does. There's the lap. He's going to cross the line with a beautiful 140.7. He goes up to provisional pole with half of the session gone. An absolutely stellar lap there from Christian Sendel, but you could just see how much his car really wanted to turn with just how little wheel input he had to do to go through some of those very tight, twisty portions of the track, especially the likes of No Name. You can see he barely had to turn the wheel, and the car just snapped and turned. That is the advantage of this setup, or this style of setups. It's high risk, high reward, and the reward certainly paid off on that lap, giving him a very small gap between him and Korsak sitting P2. Now, let's look a little behind the road now. Jan Fehler trying to come up. He's got a purple sector 1. What does the German have in his McLaren? Normally, we do not see him this far off a pole, but after provisional banker laps, let's assume that that is just temporary. And also up the road, Duza, I believe. No, Duza just started a lap. Oh, we do have a car off. That is Tisu. Invalidating his lap and going way too deep through the Brussels hairpin. Must have made some kind of mistake, either touching the grass on the entry, which is possible if you're trying to use the curb on the left-hand side. But Tisu will not be able to improve on this lap around. A little behind him, Mr. Hoffey currently running P11. Him and his Ferrari teammate Max AMG, 10th and 11th. Ferrari drivers had a pretty good outing last time we had our stream up in Italy. Now, I'm going to go ahead off on the side screen while these drivers currently do this lap real fast. I'm going to pull up the race results from previous weeks. I do remember how the top 3 finished. I don't actually recall how some of the drivers did outside of the top 10 or outside the top 3. So we'll go ahead and take a look at the results. Excuse me. So in the Netherlands, we had Christian Sendel, our race winner, followed by Jan Fehler and Lenny. That was your podium. Patrick in his AlphaTauri finished P4, and Pedro Dean rounding out the top 5 in his McLaren. Now, Pedro is not able to race today, but that is all right. Now, speaking of drivers on the road right now, keep an eye on Duza, who currently is on a lap. He's 2/10 improving right now, but he's going to need to find another 2/10 through the final sector. It's a very tall order through the bus stop chicane now. Very heavy braking, but if he can nail it, he might be able to find at least a 10th. But Duza, speaking of him, finished 6th last week, currently on track to start 3rd, maybe up higher as he comes across the line with a 140.8. So he's a little less than a 10th off a pole. He's going to find a little bit more time, but a very strong lap for the Mercedes driver. Finishing P7 last week was his teammate, F1 Racer, who's currently slightly improving in his Mercedes as Jan Fehler returns to the pits after botching what I presume his lap and validating it. Now there, F1 Racer, the purple middle sector. Not sure if that's accurate, but he's only a 10th and a half up on his time, but that will certainly jump him as Fernandez was actually right in front of him, but now Fernandez is 2/10 up the road. So that'll be a little farther, a little harder for him to get, but we'll see what F1 Racer can do now going into the bus stop chicane. Keeping it nice and tight, a little bit of a lockup with the right front, but that shouldn't be too much of an issue. Getting that rear to really turn for him, and now in the run to the line, it's a 141.2, which is an improvement, but not enough to overtake the Brazilian of Fernandez. Fernandez finished P12 last week. Him and his fellow countryman Deds were 12th and 13th, unfortunately. Maestro Hoffi, who we did mention before, in the Ferrari finished 11th, and Reges finished 10th in the Haas. The Haas driver was able to pick up a point last week, currently on an invalidated lap and sitting in P11, but we'll see if he can take advantage of drivers' misfortunes around him. But let's keep an eye now on Lenny. He's going through the first sector. He's trying to set his first lap of the session. Not a purple first sector, but that 29.8 is similar to what Christian Sendel, Korsak, and Jan Fandler have done, but it's all going to be won or lost in the middle sector. And he does not have a lap time set, so this is very unusual for Lenny. You know, he's really working from his back foot right now, trying to make the most out of nothing so far. But let's see what Lenny can do now. The Frenchman looking to put himself up on the front row. Speaking of the front row, Korsak, I didn't even notice this lap that he just did. He just did a 140.4. So the Chinese driver answering the lap time placed by Christian Sendel. Not sure if he will have enough fuel to get back to the pits and then have enough time even to get back out again. So that could be his session over. But that 140.4 is a very impressive lap time. But does Lenny have an answer? He's getting a tow from his teammate, though. It looks like the two Renault drivers really helping each other, Blue and Lenny. Blue's certainly going to move out of the way now. There he goes. Might be looking to have the favor returned. We'll have to wait and see, because Blue is starting P4 at the moment, but still 6/10 off a pole. But now, ooh, Lenny invalidates through the bus stop chicane. So after all that work going through the sectors, we'll take a look at his sector times before he fully returns to the garage. So yes, if you look here, he was a 43.0 and a 29.8. We'll compare that to what Korsak just did. It would have put him probably top 5, I think is the safest way to put it. He was basically guaranteed. He was less than a half second off of Korsak, so probably top 5 for sure. But invalidating the bus stop will ruin those chances. Now, as the drivers, excluding Korsak, all in the garage waiting for the last minute. Now, Korsak, I believe, does have enough time, just barely. He doesn't have a teammate to hold him up. He should be able to return to his garage and leave it with about 15 seconds to spare. So hold on, take a break while the drivers begin to go out of the garage for their final run of the session, which is going to be led by Tisu and Jan Baylor. So one of the interesting things about Spa on this game for sure, it's really become an all or nothing track. In previous games, you know, the setups were more just kind of straight line speed as much as you can, but in this one, because of how the game's oriented, you can really make the car turn without compromising the straight line speed. And so it really makes it an all or nothing like lap, especially with how long it is, with how long of a lap we're talking about here. I mean, look at Corsac, 140.4. All the other drivers in the 40s, 140s or 141s. You look at that long lap time, and it really, you really have to go all or nothing for almost 2 minutes. And it's really hard on some of these drivers. I mean, you do have breaks like the Kimmel Straight and then the run through like Blanchimont into the bus stop. But other than that, I mean, it's a very demanding track now as Jan Fehler and Tisu begin their their final flying laps. This Tisu's on a lap that's 4:38, but that is definitely a visual glitch. We'll go up the road though and take a look at Jan Fehler. First at the queue, Tisu has disconnected and left this session, so that is horrible to see happen because that will completely ruin his chance of a final run. We'll see if we can go ahead and get him back in here after this is done. But right now, let's keep an eye on Jan Fehler. He currently matches his best first sector, but he still is going to have to find 3/4 of a second through the middle and final sectors, which is could be doable. We've seen him do it before at other tracks. Maybe not as big of a margin, but he could totally do it, considering I believe there's plenty of time on the table for the likes of Jan. But let's see what he can do. A little squirmy through No Name, and now on the run through Pouan, does Jan Fehler have an answer to the time set by Corsac, Christian Sendel, and Duza, who are currently 3/10 clear of the rest of the field. Locking up, though, into the right and left-hander. That chicane going through at the end of Sector 2 now. Slowing the car down just enough. He's 4/10 up. He's got a purple middle sector. Jan Fehler currently on track to possibly knock off Corsac. Now, there is a little bit of a queue, though, into the bus stop chicane, so he might, hopefully he doesn't get held up here. But I think Corsac will get through just in time and not give Jan a tow, or an unplanned for tow. But now Jan Fehler on the run to the line. What can he do? The German driver on his final run will be a 140.8. He will start no better than 4th. That was a very strong lap, but was unable to put it on the front row. Now behind, we got the 2 Ferraris. As you can see, Tisu takes the flag. First one being Max AMG, followed by Maestro Hoffy. What do the Ferraris have to say about how this session's gone? I'm currently only sitting 10th and 12th, a second off of pole position. Can one of them climb up the order if they get a few tenths on the slot? Let's see what Max can do. Max goes up to P3 with a 140.7. Behind him, Maestro Hoffy only goes up to P10 with a 141.2. Next up is the Haas of Reges. Reges is currently improving by over 3/10. Let's see if he can carry that momentum through and put himself into the top 10. He's going to need another few more tenths, though, and there he goes up to P11. So close to getting into the top 10 there. Next up, I believe, is F1 Racer. Yes, it is F1 Racer. He's improving just like everyone else is at this time. Yellow flag in Sector 2, F1 Racer up to 6. Behind him, is that Lenny? That is Lenny, and Lenny goes up to 2nd, but he cannot knock off Corsac. He does a 140.528. Where's Christian Sendel? Let's focus on the German in the Alfa Romeo. Can he? He's currently 3/10 improving right now. He has the opportunity to steal pole provisionally from Corsac, who is behind him on the road, and now Christian Sendel comes up to the line just at 140.4. That is provisional pole, but where's Corsac? Corsac's improving by a 10th right now. Can Corsac steal that right back from the German driver? Here he goes out of the final corner. It's just a straight out sprint to the line. Corsac crosses the line, and no! He loses out by 1,000th of a second. It says a 140.416 in my top right, but it's a 140.415. That is pole by Christian Sendel. And in a lap that long to match it down to the 1,000th of a second is absolutely insane. But Christian Sendel takes pole position as he set the lap time first. And wow, folks. Wow, Christian Sendel on the front row. Corsac alongside on P2. Our championship leader, Lenny PNR, down in P3, not able to have the dominating qualifying performance that we're used to. Duza with a very strong P4. Max AMG P5. Jan Fehler down in P6. That's a little bit of a shocker, but we'll have to wait and see how he does in the race. F1 Racer down at 7th. Tyson Blue in 8th in this Renault. He's shown to have really good race pace, so I do expect to see him be very racy off the line. Kev Jennings and Patrick 9th and 10th for an all-AlphaTauri 5th row. But back up to the front, though, Christian Sendel and Corsac, the two of them trading blow after blow in the second half of that qualifying session. Absolutely phenomenal stuff. Once Christian was able to put down a lap time, he really started coming, and then, of course, that came around as well. But that is your starting order, folks, with Christian Sendel on pole position with an absolutely brilliant lap time of a 140.415. Korsak losing out by a thousandth of a second. It looks like TCU is having a little bit of connection troubles right now. His best lap was only 142.2, and he will not be starting any. Well, he's starting in last position, unfortunately. But all the other drivers spread out by 0.8 of a second. We can just assume that TCU is having a little bit of connection issues, but the rest of the grid looking very, very competitive. It is a full dry race. We do have some clouds, but if I had a feeling, if I'm correct, I believe the clouds will clear up a bit. So we'll take a moment and wait for the drivers to get their setups. We'll see if we can reinvite Tisu. I'm not sure if I actually have him on my friends list. It does not look like I have him. So unfortunately, I'll have to double check. See if we can possibly get him back in here. Yeah. So we'll take a quick break while we wait for the drivers on the grid to load their setups and for TC to hopefully get back in the lobby so we can be in the race. And there he is. TC has rejoined the lobby. I don't believe he'll be given control of his car until after the start of the race. Usually it waits till the exit of turn 1. So his AI might get off to a really good start. So even though he is starting 14th, he should get off to a good start. But unfortunately, he will not be able to choose his strategy. So there's going to be subject to whatever the AI puts him on. But I believe he should still have his setup loaded. So that it shouldn't be too bad. But we'll have to wait and see. Now that the drivers are moving and starting the formation lap, let's go ahead and take a look at the tire choices here. Put drivers on the grid. Now, like we said, TC was at the mercy of the AI. It chose soft, but 3 drivers around him opted for the medium compound tire, looking to do the reverse strategy. Top 10. Speaking of the top 10, as most of you may already know, the top 10 starts on the tire they qualified on, so hopefully they didn't put too much wear in those soft rubbered tires. So we'll have to wait and see what the strategy is. The pit window should open anywhere between lap 6 and lap 10 for the soft runners, and then for the medium runners, anywhere between lap 13 and lap 16. This is about the ideal window you want to take these sets of tires now. We'll have to see. Now, we know Fernandez has had some really good race pace at certain tracks. Did he just have a fluky qualifying and possibly is going to be able to do something on the medium? Same with Maester Hoffy and Regas. We'll have to see what they can do on that reverse strategy of tire. But for now, all eyes will be on the front row and the front runners right now. Christian Sendel, Korsak, Lenny. I think we're going to get a shootout, folks. Now, 3 of them separated by just over a 10th in qualifying. Korsak and Christian Sendel, as we saw, a thousandth of a second between them. And then you can't count out Duza in P4. Curious to see what he can do in his Mercedes. So he might be able to put on a show. And you got Max AMG and Jan Fehler. So a couple drivers. We got a couple more drivers in the mix this week. And it's always great to see even more drivers in the mix. And this is, if I'm correct, a relatively popular track. A little more of a fan favorite per se. So I do expect to see much of the grid very quick around here. You can see Blue Going a little bit slow as he comes up the line, making sure he's got plenty of heat into the tires, along with everyone else behind him. Those medium runners got to make sure their tires are up to 10th. I mean, it's not a long run to the first corner, as you can see from Christian Sendel. You see on the car's camera, you can see there's not really much between him and the grid, or sorry, him and turn 1. So as long as everyone gets through turn 1 cleanly, it's going to be the run down the Kimmel straight that will set the tone for the race. But here we go now. The lights are on. We'll see if we can get a good camera angle. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights. And away we go for the Belgium Grand Prix. Christian Sentinel gets a good launch. Looks like Lenny got a good launch, but Christian goes and covers off Corsac. Lenny trying to go around the outside of the Racing Point drivers. We got Duza on his inside. They're going 3 wide behind the race leader right now. And it looks like Max AMG had to back out of it. And as a result, Jan Fehler going to go side by side with the Ferrari, going up Eau Rouge through Radillon. Max AMG getting a little squirmy. He's just dropping down the order right now. The Ferrari off to a horrible start. He's down to 7th as he's been mugged also by F1 Racer on the run down the Kimmel straight. But it's looking like it's stationary up front. We have, ooh, it looks like Blue breaking part of his front wing in the background on the back of Kev Jennings. And now he's going to lose position to Patrick as well. Blue breaking a little too late, and as a result, losing a position there. He's also going to have Maester Hoffey up his inside through the Brussels hairpin. Blue, whose race started out looking so still, well, we talked about how he's got good race pace, but losing that end plate is going to be huge. We do have a car off, though. That is Fernandez. He's into the wall through no name. So what has happened here, the two drivers that I was counting on having some solid race pace and working their way up the field, losing parts of their wing on the opening lap. That's not what they wanted to see, but up at front, it has remained stationary. The top 4, all in the position they started in, with Christian Sendel leading the way. Now it says that there's a gap, a 1 lap gap between Max AMG and F1 Racer, so we're just going to, as usual, ignore the timing tower until it decides to sort itself out. Now on the run from Ruben Blanchemont and into the bus stop chicane now, Christian Senna leading us for the end of the first of 22 long laps around Spa-de-Francorchamps. Little bit of action kind of looking through the grid, and you can see some of these cars. You can see there goes Blue into the pits. Tisu's also into the pits. Not sure what the Red Bull driver, if he's got any damage, so I'll have to keep an eye on that as well as that situation develops. And he has retired from the session, so he might not have had his setup loaded or something as a result of the fact that he was not able to choose his car and whatnot. So he has retired from the session. Blue putting on a set of hard rubber, and I assume the same will go for Fernandez, pitting it off of the Williams. Now it looks like we got a yellow flag in sector 3, but that is just not the case. But it looks like Lenny PNR is a little desynced at the moment as the timing tower sorts itself out. He on his back, and he was ghosted down the Kimmel straight. As the timing tower sorts itself out, we should be good. We are on lap 2 out of 22 here. Then our current race leader is, in fact, Christian Sendel. We'll have to see what Blue and Fernandez can do. Both of them on the hard compound of tire, but they're going to have a lot of work to do after making those main changes and taking an unplanned for early pit stop. Duza currently running in P4 right now. Having a really strong start, I must say, for the Mercedes driver. He's actually almost dropped Jan Fehler. Right now it says he's out of DRS range. Doesn't look like he's 1.1 behind, so I believe that is incorrect. But he's trying to drop him. Jan's looking like he's trying to drop F1 Racer behind. There's a little bit of a gap forming between the likes of Jan and F1 Racer. Behind him, let's take a look. You can see Kev Jennings still in the train there, and so is Patrick. But Maester Hoffey starting to fall off a little bit on those medium tires. So the medium runners doing the best they can to stay in DRS, but it looks like I believe they've lost the DRS advantage to Patrick, which it does get enabled this coming lap. So down the Kimmel straight, we'll see drivers starting to unleash it. We'll go ahead and play around with the gaps there. You see Christian Sendel and then Jan Fehler setting the new fastest lap at the 1:45.4. So some very quick lap times to start the race. But we'll have to see now, lap 3 out of 22. Will anyone use the DRS advantage to their advantage? Max AMG actually lost DRS on F1 Racer. I did not see that one. I thought he was close enough. He's going to be over second, passing the detection zone. And Maester Hoffey, thankfully, did get DRS for him. But Reges does not, as he made a mistake going through the bus stop chicane. See Max AMG now. He's under pressure from Kev Jennings behind. Kev Jennings going to the outside of Max AMG, but he's not far enough ahead to make the move stick, and Max AMG will hold on to P7, but that will definitely unsettle the Ferrari and take away his opportunity of possibly getting DRS back at this moment. But Kev Jennings looking a little racy behind Max up ahead. Duza actually got overtaken by Jan Fehler. We did not see that as we were watching the battle for 7th position, and Korsak took the lead as well. So how about that? I totally missed those overtakes there as Max picks up a 3-second time penalty. We watched one battle, while 2 more battles happened at the front. Korsak up into the lead, using the DRS advantage to overtaking Christian Sendel. Now let's see what the Chinese driver can do now that he's up front. Now Christian Sendel, I'm sure, might be thinking, okay, strategically doesn't make sense to fight it. Might as well just let Korsak pull me along so I can save ERS. We'll have to wait and see. Now Lenny starting to really burn battery there. He's really gaining on Christian Sendel. Might be looking to make a move into the bus stop chicane, perhaps. He's right on that rear diffuser right now. Less than a car length between the 2 drivers, but Lenny not close enough right now. But Christian Sendel going a little too deep. Lenny going to go for somewhat of a switchback. He's all over the rear end of that Alfa Romeo. As Korsak goes fastest overall, not surprisingly. But Lenny looking really racy all of a sudden towards the end of lap 3 now and on to the start of lap 4. He's got that nice shiny gold helmet, I must say. That's a very nice helmet because it really nicely complements that Renault car. And now, can he take that Renault car up into P2? Maybe even get the lead here based off of how much battery Korsak used to defend off from Christian and Lenny, because you can see here we go down the back straight. Korsak pulling up a line. Christian really gaining on Korsak, but he's not gaining enough. Korsak using a little bit of that battery deployment and staying up ahead for now. Jan Fehler barely hanging on to the front 3 right now, who are trying to break away from the rest of the field. Duza down in 5th with his teammate behind him. Everyone else is in a DRS range. Reyes did get dropped from the DRS range when the DRS opened up, but he hasn't really fallen off that much. He's only 2 seconds behind, and he was 1.5 when it initially went on. So now going through Puan, the dirty air right now definitely makes it very tricky. You can see, of course, Korsak's able to pull away a little bit through the middle sector. There's a dirty air around this track, especially with these oversteery setups, really making it hard for some of these drivers to keep right behind the car up ahead. But everyone here now, everyone's in that DRS range. So Reyes is actually closing in, interestingly enough, on a Maestro Hoffy, who is struggling to keep the DRS range of Patrick. He's 0.9 seconds behind, but Reyes gaining a little bit now. He's only 1.7 behind the Ferrari, so if he can keep pushing, he might be back into this fight. Speaking of the fight, though, Lenny must be running a lot less downforce, or just really pushing through Blanchimont into the bus stop, because he seems to really game on Christian Sendel a lot down that back straight and on the run towards the final chicane. But here we go. He will have another opportunity again this lap at the end of the Kimmel Straight. We'll have to see what he can do now here on the run. He's gaining a little bit. So we'll pull up that on my other screen. Yes, we'll see if we can make a move into Lacombs. Now Lenny, 2/10 behind Christian, but Christian still has that DRS. It's making it really hard for Lenny to make the move stick. Now it's weird. I think Lenny's just saving his battery down the back straight. We'll have to take a look at that on the next lap, because he's really gaining a lot through turn 16 and through Blanchimont into the bus stop, but he doesn't really gain down the Kimmel Straight when he has DRS and the slipstream. So it's very interesting to see how that is playing out. As right now, the Korsak able to pull away a little bit through No Name and into Puan because of the dirty air, like we were talking about. Now Jan Fehler not really gaining, not really losing time to the front runners, still 0.9 behind. Definitely not benefiting from the amount of slipstream that Lenny gets from Christian on the back straight. And then as he goes through the middle sector, he's able to close up the gap a little bit to keep his DRS. Now Mr. Hoffy not conveniently, but surprisingly has lost DRS. I mean, he's flirting on the bubble. He was 1.1. There's 1.1 behind again, but it's like every corner it fluctuates. But now it's looking like it's 1.1 on the run to Blanchimont. He really needs to get that DRS, and there he goes. Burning a little bit of battery there, getting that little bit of extra top speed so the Ferrari can use that power and stay in the DRS. Now, if he can stay in the DRS range crucially and then have some good pace on that few laps in between pit windows, he might put on a challenge for a decent amount of points. He might be able to get up and help his teammate out up front. Max AMG now up ahead of him. F1 Racer flirting on the edge of DRS range. Yeah, he's out of DRS of his teammate Duza. So it looks like the Ferrari Max AMG might be able to mount an attack after we saw him come under pressure from Kev Jennings. Kev Genetics a few laps ago. But we'll go back up to the battle up front right now. Korsak still leading the way. Lenny still trying to find a way around Christian. You see Jan drops out of DRS range down the back straight because of the amount of stop speed some of these guys have, and then he's going to slowly work his way in. So Jan really struggling to catch up to the top 3, doing the best he can, but right now 4th place is kind of where he is stuck. A little farther down, F1 Racer really struggling all of a sudden on those tires. He is currently in a 6th position, 1.5 behind his teammate. He was within DRS range a lap ago this time, and he's lost close to a second now off of his teammate ahead. So I'm not sure if he's just, you know, his tires are going on, or he's just struggling at this phase, or he made a mistake. But F1 Racer really struggling to keep up with the pace of the front 5 who are trying to run away now. You have the top 3 trying to pull away from the likes of Jan Failer and Duza, but the top 5 as a whole have dropped the rest of the field. With Macer Hoffey still just barely in DRS range now. This should open up a few thousand now. Max AMG might go on the attack here. Captain X might join him, and that also should free up Duza to maybe try to fight back for P4. But we'll have to wait and see. Only time will tell now as we're ending lap 6. I don't think we'll have anyone coming into the pits this lap. I don't think anyone goes for an undercut that early in the race when their soft tires should still be operating. But we'll have to start keeping an eye on that now as lap 7 begins, as the pit window is certainly beginning to open. Now still off in the back by Blue and Fernandez, still running their own race the best they can. But that 23 seconds is greater than the pit delta. I believe the pit delta is only 20 seconds around the track, if I'm correct. But keep an eye on that as the race goes on. But here we go once again. Lenny trying his best. You can see he's trying his best down the back straight to overtake Christian Sendel, but he just doesn't have the top speed advantage here. But in the background, you got Max AMG making the move stick on F1 Racer, clearing the Mercedes driver who's really struggling this last lap and a half. And now Max back up into P6, F1 Racer down into 7th. Max now trying to recover those positions he lost off the line. Remember, he started up, I believe, up in 5th position. I thought he started up at 4th for some reason. He started up in 5th position, lost a handful of positions off the line, really struggled after looking like he had an opportunity to take 4th position. But the end result was him dropping down the order and losing a few positions. Keep an eye on the gaps to the leader right now. Only 2 drivers who have stopped are Blue and Fernandez, and they stopped due to main changes on lap 1. Everyone else has kept it relatively clean and has stayed on their current tires. Now Jan Failer, you can see he's 1.8 behind the leader, but he's flirting out of DRS range. He's run out of battery. So this is developing news. Jan Failer currently out of battery in his efforts to keep up with the front 3, and now he's really fighting for DRS. As Korsak dives into the pit lane, the pit window opening up now. Lenny joining him, Jan Failer as well, and I believe that is Duza right behind as well. Yes, Duza's into the pit, so a lot of drivers into the pits this lap. So we're going to see plenty of position changes. Christian Sendel, one of the only ones to stay out. In fact, F1 Racer staying out as well. Surprising to see him stay out. I guess he just does not want to get held, even though he's really been struggling on those tires. Captain X also out right now. See, they're 5.2 behind our race leader. Now Captain X is going to have a free shot at F1 Racer, possibly get him before he comes into the pits. Captain X looking to the right-hand side, looking to go to the inside, but he's not close enough as they go to the braking zone of Lake Holmes. And F1 Racer holds on to the position 4 now. Now, crucially, Jan Failer was able to recharge his battery in the pits, but he still lost DRS. He's actually going to lose a position to Duza because of how little battery he has. He tried to stay ahead. Duza has retaken net P4 from Jan Failer. So after Jan got him early on, he was not able to capitalize off of the position take, and as a result, he's fallen victim to Duza. F1 Racer and Patrick both pick up 3-second time penalties at the same time, which will definitely not hurt. Or not help their races. Definitely will hurt their races. Interesting though, Max AMG pitting off the mediums onto hards. So that is a very interesting strategy call. Not sure if he had any damage or anything. I don't think he did. He's 3.2 behind Failer. He was able to undercut Patrick, so not sure if Patrick got held or anything. But Max AMG moving up the order, but surprising to see him not stick it out and wait for the soft, to use the soft. Oh no, sorry, Max AMG was on the soft. Excuse me, his teammate is on the mediums right now, Macer Hoffman. Max AMG going on to hard. Still very interesting move. You would expect someone to go on the mediums as the mediums can certainly last to the end of the race at this point. But I guess he thinks the hards are the better tire for him. Race leader Christian Sendel into the pits, followed by the other soft runners of F1 Racer and Kev Genetics. We'll see where they come out with respect to the likes of Corsac and the rest of the field. Looks like Christian Sendel is going to get massively undercut by Corsac and Lenny. You see Christian, he's going to be coming out of the pits now to the right. You see, there he is. There's his Alfa Romeo. He's going to come out behind Lenny and maybe into the clutches of Duza. Actually, not close enough to get Duza, but he's out of DRS range of our net race leaders. And now Lenny mounting a charge on Corsac. He's going to the right-hand side of the track, coming out of Radion. And Lenny trying to make the move stick. He does with the DRS advantage. Lenny up in the 3rd place in the net race lead, overtaking Corsac on the run down the Kimmel Straight. A textbook move by the Frenchman as he gains the position and demotes Corsac. But that move did allow for Christian Sendel to get back into DRS range of the leading pair. So now it's going to be a 3-horse battle once again for the race lead, with Duza only 1.2 behind Christian. So he might be able to come back into this fight as well and bring Jan Failure with him, which would make it a 5-car battle for the race lead. But right now, it is Lenny's to keep. Now the next question is, with the likes of Regas, Mr. Hoffey not stopping yet, we'll see what kind of pace they have. But if Lenny, Corsac, and Christian can all lap very quickly, as Blue picks up a 3-second time penalty. But if this leading group can lap quick enough, will they catch up to Regas before Regas pits? That'll be interesting to see. It's 4.2 seconds is the gap. Now it's a pretty tall order to run down in the likes of 5 laps, but it's never impossible now as they come through the bus stop chicane to start end lap 9 and start lap 10. See, there's the pit boards now on Duza, as well Lenny, unsurprisingly, goes fastest overall. And Duza is back in DRS range. So Duza, who is in 6th position, he was behind Jan Failure before, showing some good pace at the start of this medium tire stint. He was able to clear Jan once Jan ran out of battery, and now he's able to pull his way back into the fight for a podium position. So he's right there to pounce in the event that one of these guys makes a mistake up ahead. All of these guys do not have a penalty to play with at the moment. No idea how many warnings they have, but you can see that Duza's used almost all of his battery, and so is Jan Failure, to catch up to the front 3. So hopefully that pays off for him. We'll have to wait and see how it goes. Behind him, you got Max MG holding up the likes of Patrick, F1 Racer, and Kev Genetics. But Max on those hards, now 4.7 seconds behind Jan, so really struggling at this moment, but it does not help that you are on the harder compound rubber. Now, guys around him, except for Kev Genetics, all have time penalties, so he at least is battling for a net position with those hards. We'll see what he can do. It's definitely not impossible, and he'll definitely should have better pace in the closing laps of the race, but it'll be interesting to see how he goes about this strategy. Out towards the front, Mr. Hoffey still leading the way in his Ferrari. Has not pitted, and when he does pit, he'll probably come out in that pack we were just looking at, probably at the tail end of it, but he will be on that fresh, soft compound of tire, which will definitely be ideal. So we'll have to wait and see what he does. Now, as lap 11, we're almost halfway through the race now. Like I said, it would definitely be a longer one because of the longer lap time, but the drivers are certainly making it very entertaining now. With, you can see now, Corsac getting pretty close to Lenny, not too close through turn 1 at this time through the source, but now on the run up to Eau Rouge and Radion, these cars taking it just flat out, flinging it left, right, and then left once again, and up the hill. 6/10 separating the group of them in between each of, well, 6/10 in between each of the drivers right now, with Duza and Jan Failure a tad far back, but that's nothing too bad. They still get that DRS advantage down the back straight. See how powerful it is. Speaking of powerful, Patrick making the move stick on Max AMG before the braking zone into Lake Holm. So Patrick up to P8, Max down to P9 on those hard tires. Patrick on the fresh medium tire, trying to get a move on. He gets some good points for the AlphaTauri team. But he's going to have to put 3 seconds on his teammate, who does not have a time penalty at this time. So we'll see what he can do now in what is a net P6. And the guys up front will go back up to the battle, led by Lenny. Christian Sendel and Corsac both closing in. See Christian Sendel getting a little squirmy through campus and right into Stavelot. His rear end, he seems to have a really oversteery set. We saw that in qualifying with how easily the car would turn. And it's looking like to me it's the same result in the race. Now, remember before when I mentioned will Regas become a factor? He's only 2.2 seconds ahead of Lenny. And so Regas may very well become a quirk and a factor in this race because Regas might, I mean, he'd be battling for position. He's every right to defend from this net leading group. So we'll have to see what he does. But I believe we're going to be on for an interesting treat. Now, interesting with how, if he has not lost any time to Mason Hoffman, and with how the guys behind are lapping, Mason Hoffman probably will come out a little bit behind and out of DRS range of Kev Genetics. He'll definitely be ahead of Bobby Fernandez unless he has to change anything. But he's going to have to, he's going to come out a little bit behind. He's going to have to make up some ground before he can really start challenging for points and going for those overtakes. So we'll see what he can do. You can see there's Regas, and there's Lenny, there's Korsak, and there's Christian Zendel. Duza hovering not too far behind, just barely in DRS. F1 Racer getting really close to the Ferrari Max AMG, so while Patrick hasn't really lost any time to the cars up ahead, Max has been struggling to keep with him, pushing as much as he can. You can see that in the fact that F1 Racer now, there's look at Max's rear end also, a little squirmy, struggling for grip on those hards. And F1 Racer looking very racy behind Captain X, also there in the event that one of the two drivers makes a mistake or if they battle too much where he can kind of just slide in for a free position. But there you have it, folks. Lenny almost at DRS range of the Haas up ahead. That will definitely make things interesting. They'll give him a fighting chance a lot down the Kimmel Straight. But how much of a fight will the Haas driver up ahead pull up? Not sure. But you can see there now, Lenny just gaining so much speed down out of turn 16 and it's down Blanchimont and into the bus stop chicane in the DRS range now. I'm not sure if he got DRS this time around. He did. So he did get within the 1 second at the detection point right before the braking zone. And now he will certainly close up to the back of that Haas on those old medium tires. Now, Regas might be thinking of pitting at the end of this lap because this battling is certainly about to follow. It's definitely going to hold him up, but will it hold up the likes of Korsak and Christian Sendal? Because if Lenny can clear Regas and put a car between him and his rival, it could allow him to break DRS. Might be push time, so let's see what he does now. Lenny down the Kimmel Straight, trying to pressure Regas. He's going to go to the inside. Regas leaves the door open, does fight it, but slows up a little bit. Lenny going a little wide there, and you can see now Regas getting in the way of Korsak, not letting drivers through, fighting for position. Now Lenny, if Lenny can bolt and pull a second, this race could be his to lose due to the fact that he does have that car in between them. But we'll see what happens here. He's 6/10 clear of Regas. Korsak looking really racy. He wants to clear the Haas. He knows he has to clear the Haas. He's almost a second behind Lenny already, let alone the fact that Regas is just getting dropped right now. Korsak, there's nothing he can do at the moment. There's no real overtaking spot through the middle of the lap. He might have to go for a move into the bus stop chicane even. It would be a bold one, but he needs to get this move done ASAP, as now Regas has lost DRS to Lenny. So Korsak now sitting in the hot seat, getting held up massively by the Haas driver up ahead. I'm sure he's not too happy as Regas putting up a defense. Not really, I mean, he doesn't have to yield per se, but it's never good whenever you get slowed up by a car who has not pitted yet. As you can see there, Korsak able to brake so much later into the bus stop chicane. You see Christian Senna was able to get right up behind him as well as Regas dives into the pits and realizes there's no point fighting, losing too much time. Korsak able to get DRS though down the front straight, but not the DRS he wanted. I'm sure he wanted it down the Kimmel Straight where it'll matter. You see Christian Duza have caught back up to Korsak, so the battle for P2 might be on now with Lenny just out of DRS range at this time. We'll have to see though. Christian, 3/10 behind, he's gaining a lot. You can see Duza's red light is flashing, but here comes Christian Sendel on the inside of Korsak. They're going to go side by side down the Kimmel Straight, and Christian Sendel takes over third position from Korsak, goes right around him to the right-hand side on the Kimmel Straight and says, "Thank you very much, I'll have that position." Christian Sendel up to P3, Korsak down to P4. On lap 14 of 22, Maestro Hoffy still has not pitted. He is getting reeled in, though, by Lenny. There's only 1.4 behind, but Mr. Hoffy's certainly going to pit this or next lap at the latest. No point in losing more time battling. Reges, meanwhile, came out 7.5 seconds behind Kev Genetics, who, speaking of that pack, Max AMG was able to clear Patrick again, so those guys were battling it out, and it did cost them time to the front group, and has allowed Reges to not be too far behind, but 7 seconds is a lot of time to catch up. See there, Christian Settle going purple to the middle sector. He is pushing. He's trying to catch up to Lenny. Lenny, who's caught up to Maestro Hoffy now, might get held up through the bus stop chicane, which will bring Christian Sendo right back into the fray here. See, Christian's not going to get DRS down the main straight. You can see he's going to have to slow up a little bit. Yeah, you can see the Ferrari kind of just parking because he's got it diving into the pits now. And it looks like Christian Settles will get DRS down the Kimmel Straight. I believe he's close enough. Lenny does have DRS right now himself, as Christian Sentinel goes fastest overall with a 143.1. Now it's a 1 second gap. Can Christian get the exit he needs out of Lasource? He's 1 second. He's 0.999. He's 1.04. Will Christian get the DRS? This is going to be crucial now. Can Christian get it? It was so close to the detection point. Not sure if he actually did get it or not, but let's keep an eye now as he crosses the DRS line. He does not have the DRS open, so Christian Sendel did not get DRS. That is crucial. It still gives Lenny an opportunity to pull away. Christian running out of battery now. He's really been burning his battery in order to stay within DRS of Lenny, which is crucial. He's never going to be able to overtake him without that DRS, but if he runs out of battery, this could be curtains for his race-winning chances as of right now. You can see now, if we look at Lenny, 41% left on his ERS. Christian Sendel currently running at 14%, really using as much as possible. Korsak at 11, Duza at 11, Jan at 8. So that is the ERS battery levels of the front drivers. Now, Duza and Jan, while we were talking about all the other battling, did pick up time penalties. So it looks like the podium, unless they get penalties, is going to be Lenny, Christian, and Korsak. But in what order is the question? Because no matter what Duza and Jan do, they're going to lose out due to their penalties. Now, Max AMG, after making the move for P6, Fernandez picks up, I believe, another time penalty. No, his first one of the race. As Max moved up to P6, it's hard. It's really starting to work right now. I'm not sure what happened to Patrick, per se. But he's kind of, the whole group has fallen off a decent amount. Major Hoffy, meanwhile, came out only just ahead of Reges. Reges pulled a one-lap undercut and made up 3 seconds on the Ferrari up ahead. Question is, will these guys have enough time and pace to catch up to Kev Genetics and F1 Racer up ahead? We'll have to wait and see. They really only need to get within 3 seconds of F1 Racer and Patrick to start getting their free positions due to the penalties. But it's going to be a tall order asking of them. Now, Christian Sentinel did get DRS. He was able to close up enough that last lap. So he's back in the fight for the race victory. But he is pushing hard. He's very low on battery. So is Korsak and Lenny sitting on enough. Not a mountain, but enough ERS to make it, to allow him to defend, which is what he's going to have to do probably these next 6 laps. Because it is going to be all or nothing now. All these drivers very hungry for a race win. Christian Senna looking to continue his momentum. Lenny looking to get back on to his winning streak. And Korsak looking to get his maiden victory in the tier. We'll have to see. It's going to be a very spicy one, folks, as the laps begin to wind down. But one thing is for certain, one of these drivers will walk away with a win. And as of right now, all 3 of them will be on the podium as it stands. Now, Jan Fehler, meanwhile, has dropped out of DRS and Duza, really struggling to keep up with the front guys. It looks like Jan just not having his best of days in that McLaren. He's doing everything he can, but it looks like the pace up front is just electric right now, and they are just absolutely cruising out front. You can just see how much faster they are than the likes of like Max, AMG, and Patrick, as they've been dropped. They're 8.5 seconds behind the leading group. Patrick almost losing DRS to Max right. He did. It looks like he will lose DRS to the Ferrari up ahead as he's out of battery. So that is crucial as well. But these guys have just been dropped by the leading group, how fast that pace has been. And they're also getting run down by Mr. Hoffy and Reges, who are now 3.5 behind, which is not close enough, but they are closing in. So these guys will be under threat in about 4 laps time. So right as we get to the last 2 laps of the race, I believe when they will be under the most threat. Now, back to the Kimmel Straight. Korsak gaining on Christian Sendel. You can see behind him, nothing really doing. But up ahead, he's gaining a decent amount on Christian Sendel, but the lack of battery is definitely hurting him. As you can see, as he goes through left and right section of the track, short shifting up to 6th gear to maintain traction. And now, as you can see in the background, we got F1 Racer making a move on Patrick, taking advantage of the AlphaTauri's lack of battery, and that will promote him up to P7 and Patrick down to P8. We'll keep a look at an update on this penalty situation. Duza and Jan Fehler have 3 seconds, and they are at the top in the top group. The Jan Fehler starting to fall off now, 2 seconds from Duza, so he still might be able to have an extra penalty to spare. We'll have to see if he can pull 3 seconds on Jan. Then you got Max AMG with 3 seconds, F1 Racer, and Patrick with tie penalties, which will effectively promote Kev Genetics through this group. If Maester Hoffy and Regis can catch up, they would get promoted as well with their lack of penalties. So a lot on the line right now as we are on lap 17 of 22. 5 laps and a few corners to go, folks. Things are getting spicy. As you can see, the leader crossing the line now. There's Lenny, followed by Christian and Korsak. They're keeping it close, but no one looking to pull the trigger and make an overtake. Yeah, these drivers kept it also really clean today. No safety cars, no yellow flags on track. I would not call the pit lane retirement yellow flag a real yellow flag per se. But now, you can also see another thing to note, Maester Hoffy has been catching the cars up ahead at a rate of knots. He's dropped Regis now. It's 2.4, 2.3 behind. He's catching him a lot. I think when he does catch up, he might not have much in the way of tires to make the overtakes work. But the Ferrari will certainly give it a go. Usually puts on a good show, and I'm sure we'll see a good show from Maester Hoffy today now, as he's currently within 3 seconds of Patrick. Or just, well, now he's just out of it because they had DRS, but he's flirting with the 3 second gap that he needs to secure net P9. Question is, how far up can he go, and how much can he, how much does he have left in his tires? Go back up to Duza now. Duza in his Mercedes, having a really strong performance. We said, though, he finished P6 last week in the Netherlands. He hasn't had any real strong showings like we're seeing today. What we're seeing today out of him is an electric performance. I mean, he hasn't been battling for the win per se, hasn't been battling for the lead either. But he's keeping with these front guys. He lost DRS and was able to claw back his way up there, and he's keeping with the pace of the top guys right now. Fantastic job by Duza to do that. And Lenny, starting out the season so dominant, looking like he's really got a challenge right now in Christian Sendel and Korsak. The two of them on some really good pace right now. Sendel on really good form, and Korsak showing some really good pace. Now, the question is, well, the guys that pitted that lap earlier and who are on 10-lap old tires, is Patrick picks up a second time penalty. That is crucial. But now, if you look at the form that Christian Sendel has been on, does this swing anything? I mean, the championship is, it's not over. Lenny does have a huge lead, but it's certainly not over. But everything is still up for grabs now. Christian Sendel, look at him. He's gaining a lot down the Kimmel Straight. It's looking like he's starting to wind up a move right now. He was under 2/10 going into the combs. Christian Sendel, all of a sudden, looking like he's going to start pressuring Lenny. This is the time being as Kev Genetics and Patrick swap positions. Patrick just out of battery to even consider defending. Maester Hoffy, meanwhile, I think he's run out of tires for the time being. He's still only 2.4 behind, 2.3 behind. And now it's not looking likely that he'll be able to make up more than one position off of penalties as F1 Racer racing away up the road along with Max AMG. So looking like his teammate definitely won't be able to get his teammate at this point. Maester Hoffy doing the best he can in that Ferrari. Meanwhile, up front, we're going to keep an eye once again on Christian Sendel on the run down the Kimmel Straight. See, he's getting, seems like he's running less top speed. I mean, I don't know what Lenny does if he just burns battery here, but usually Lenny's been really quick on the exit of turn 16 through Blanchimont into the bus stop. But this time around, Christian gained over a tenth and a half even, going into the bus stop chicane. And now he's only a half second, as we come out of the final corner and start 3 to go. Christian really looking fast in these last 2 laps. He does have the fastest lap of the race with that 143.5. Looking to see if he can take that 1 lap pace and turn it into a race victory. But here we go now on the run into Eau Rouge and Radillon. It's only a half second is the gap between Lenny and Christian. Christian, who's really saved up his battery. He's up to 54% now. He's really saved it up a lot. He's starting to mount a challenge right now. He's gaining a lot down the Kemmel Straight, but he's saving his battery. He might wait for a last lap overtake. We'll have to keep an eye on it. Let's look at this now. Lenny currently still sitting on 48%. Korsak on up to 31. So Christian Sendel with that 58%, really able to charge it, not using any battery in those last few laps, and it has paid off for him magnificently, as now he's got an opportunity here to mount a last lap charge or even second to last lap charge and use that battery to his advantage. Meanwhile, Blue has pitted onto a pair of softs, looking like he's going to try to steal the fastest lap away, possibly help the Renault team. I mean, he won't get a point out of it, but hey, it's better to deny a point to your rival if possible, if you know you won't be able to get any points. Up ahead is Fernandez. I don't think he'll be able to catch him, so it's looking like Blue will end up finishing 13th unless Fernandez pits for fastest lap attempt. But we'll keep an eye on it. Meanwhile, Mr. Hoffey has finally caught up to Patrick, who's really been struggling. Patrick at one point overtook Max AMG, was in 6th position, and then ran out of battery and kind of just ran out of life in his tires all of a sudden. And since then, he's just been dropping down the order, now under pressure from Mr. Hoffey. So you can see the Ferrari has really been gaining. 2 seconds is the gap in front of Patrick up to Kev Genetics. So Mr. Hoffey does not really need to make the overtake because he does not have that time penalty. But Patrick looking like he's going to get relegated out of the points due to his time penalty as Reyes. Well, he has 2 time penalties, but Reyes also 2 seconds behind Mr. Hoffey, making things interesting. Now back up to the front though. 5.5 seconds is still the gap, but will Christian Sendel make it this lap when he dumps his battery and goes for the overtake? He's gaining a lot down the back straight. He's gaining a lot down the Kemmel Straight, but into Lake Holm this time around, he does not make it. He's going to have one more opportunity next time around, and it'll be one of his final overtaking opportunities as the time is running out. You know, we got 1 lap and 2 sectors to go. When will Christian Sendel pull the trigger as Kev Genetics makes the move on F1 Racer? That is for P7. Kev Genetics was going to get it no matter what due to penalties, but I think he realized that Max AMG was starting to run away and that he needs to stay within 3 seconds of the Ferrari. Kev Genetics looking like he's at least one of the Alpha tires, trying to make sure one of them gets some solid points. And back up towards the battle for the race victory now. Christian Sendel so close to Lenny. He's got the battery. We know he does. It's a matter of when does he pull the trigger. Could he go for a move in the bus stop? He's going to have 3 overtaking opportunities left in this race, at least 3 normal ones per se. 1 into the bus stop this time around, 1 into Lake Holmes, and 1 into the bus stop at the very end. I do not see anyone going for a move in La Source, but hey, if the door's open, then I guess you might as well take it. But that would compromise the run down the Kemmel Straight. So we'll have to wait and see now. Into the bus stop chicane. Christian Sendel only 4/10 behind, getting right on that rear diffuser with the Renault up ahead. All he's seeing is that black and yellow as now we come across the line for the one last time. We are on the final lap of the race here in Belgium for the Belgium Grand Prix here at Spa. And Lenny right now leading the way, but for how much longer? Christian Sendel's within that half second now. He's going to get the DRS, and now he's using his battery. He's starting to use it a lot. You can see he's gaining. But how much will he gain? And will Lenny be able to defend now? Christian, 3/10 behind. Now it's 2.5. It's a quarter of a second now. What's the gap? Here it goes. Christian Sendel using all his battery. Lenny's out of battery. Christian goes to the right-hand side of the track. They're side by side going down into Lake Combs. Lenny does not yield, trying to hold it around the outside. They're side by side, but Christian Sendel swoops around the outside through turn 8 and takes the race lead. Lenny did his best that he could to defend, but he didn't have enough battery. He ran out down the back straight, and Christian had just enough that he was able to blast past. And Christian Sendel on track to go 2 for 2 and take another race victory in his Alfa Romeo. Fantastic stuff. Korsak behind, almost being dropped as a result of their battery dumping down the back straight. But Lenny, he is not going to stop. He's going to do what he can until the end of the race. He's still a half second behind Christian, but he's not right now close enough to make a move into the bus stop. He's going to have to gain right now. As we come out of we're actually going to switch off of his car since the engine sound is glitching. But he's going to be 6/10 behind coming out of turn 16. I don't think he's going to be close enough going into the bus stop chicane. It's looking like it's Christian Sendel's race to lose. That's a yellow flag. An F1 racer has retired from the session. What happened there? What happened there? We are not sure. It looked like there was some kind of contact between him and Max AMG, I believe. Well, actually, no, Max AMG was up the road. Not sure what happened to F1 Racer at all. But that's a yellow flag as Christian Sendel comes across the line and wins at Spa. Christian Sendel wins for the 2nd week in a row. Lenny Pionard will come home in 2nd, and Korsak
finishes in third to round out our podium today. Unfortunately, F1 racer DNF'd on the last lap. He was looking to score some nice points for the Mercedes, but instead he comes home with nothing, unfortunately. Duza, though, his teammate, fantastic result, finishing P4, and Jan Fehler in 5th. Great job for the top 5 who were just able to run away from the rest of the field. Max AMG was actually a little racy towards the end there. Only 7.4 behind Jan, so him and his Ferrari looked very strong. Kevin X, however, was not able to get Max 2/10 behind, even with Max's time penalty. So Ferrari able to hang on to P6, the AlphaTauri up to the 7th, and Maestro Hoffy promoted up to P8. Again, not sure what happened in that incident with F1 Racer, so we'll have to hear about that after the race. But yes, Korsak is back, and he's back on the podium, but he knows on the top of it that it's Christian Sendel. Our driver of the day, according to the game, is Maestro Hoffy. I'd have to give it a think about it for a second on who I think mine is. But that was a fantastic job. Christian Sendel, who started on pole, lost the race lead early, but never lost hope, and then made that overtake on the final lap of the race to seal the deal and win here at Spa. Hats off to him, and a fantastic drive for the German driver. As we take a look at our final results for the day, Christian Sendel on top with Lenny Pienaar close behind, followed by Korsak in P3. Duza finishing in a very respectable and strong 4th position. Jan Fehler comes home in 5th position, followed by Max AMG, Kev Genetics, Maestro Hoffy, Reges, and Patrick to round out your top 10. By Blue, who was one of 2 drivers to break his wing and have to pit lap 1, does come home in 11th. Fernandez, however, coming home in 12th, stole the fastest lap on the last lap of the race and comes home in 12th, with F1 racer and TCU not able to finish. Very great performance from the field. We'll go ahead and quickly take a look at the incident report and the race director in case any of the drivers need it after the race. But fantastic stuff that we saw here today. We're going to go ahead now and switch on over, see if we can get any drivers in for the interviews. We'll have to wait and see. It was very, very electric stuff from what we saw today around these 20 corners and the very long lap time that is Spa. So we'll wait a couple minutes for some of the drivers, see if they are ready. See what we can get some of their takes. I mean, that race was just absolutely thrilling. Now, if we're going to talk about my driver of the day, we're going to backtrack up to that. It might have to go, if you look on just raw performance, I think it would have to go to our race winner, Christian Sendel, because of the fact he was able to, he started on pole, he lost the lead early on, but he never lost faith and was able to retake the lead after, Lenny was running away at one point when Reges was in between him and Korsak. It looked like Lenny was going to get away. Christian Sendel made the move on Korsak, clawed his way back into DRS range, and then played the strategy right where he was able to save his battery and make the move stick on the final lap. So that is why he is my driver of the day. Another strong performance, though, and another driver who's arguably the driver of the day would also be Mr. Hoffy. Now, starting P12, finishing in 8th, and behind him, Reges starting in 13th and finishing 9th. So both drivers, on the reverse strategy, it was looking like iffy on if it was going to work, because they came out really hard behind. Reges was getting passed by the front runners when he came into the pits, but they really made that strategy work, and that is how our final results will stand for today. Electric stuff. My voice, I love this feeling whenever I finish up commentating and my voice is dead, because I know it was a good race, and that was fantastic stuff here at AOR. It's not looking like we'll have any post-race interviews for today. And give it one more minute. But that is okay if we don't get any today. It's not the end of the world, folks. And once again, I do hope that the stream quality is okay. I know that looking at the end here, I said I'd lost 1.5% of my frames. Not ideal. But when you're losing 2,000 compared to 141,000, it's not too bad. So just let me know going forward, if there's any issues, because definitely don't want them to continue, and I'll do everything I can to fix any issues that occur. But I believe that'll be it from me, folks. Thank you once again for joining us, and we'll be back next week when we go to, I actually don't know what track we go to next week. We'll go to China next week, so we'll see if Korsak can possibly win on his home soil. We'll have to wait and see, but it's looking like right now, and
6 days and 22 hours, we're going to have another thriller with how that field was. 5 drivers at one point battling for the race victory. Hopefully we'll carry this momentum through to China next week. I am Fizzymon, and thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, a safe and happy Sunday. Thank you, and take care.